Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. On this channel, you find truck and SUV news, reviews, interesting stories I do. Like today, I have a very interesting story for you. I actually literally have my cousin on a farm, well, ranch, I should say more accurately, here in Nebraska. And we're talking about her truck. Yes, her truck. We have a 2020 GMC Sierra. It's got the unique 6.6 liter gas engine. Now this is an engine you don't really find very often on YouTube, so I'm really excited to talk about this as well. But beautiful day here, we got really lucky. November in Nebraska, always questionable. But so we have this 2020 GMC. It's your truck. How many acres of ranch we're on?
About 160.
So 160. So you're using this around the ranch, and I know are you commuting with this truck as well?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a pretty good sizable drive. With
40 miles one way.
40 miles. So you have a lot of miles you can put on this truck. A lot around the farm and a lot of ranch, and you're towing with this truck too. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yep.
Hope you got some time.
Yep.
All right, so let's start with first, you decided to buy a new truck. Kind of walk me down the road on why you need a new truck.
Okay. So I had a Silverado, like high country, so fancy schmancy truck. It was the truck my husband convinced me to get to not be a car driver anymore. So that was like the easier way into driving a truck, and it worked. And I'm a tall person. I've always crammed myself into cars because it seemed more reasonable. And now that we are doing this as kind of our work, it wasn't reasonable. So eased my way in with the Silverado, and then was like, we need something we can tow with and kind of be the everything. My husband's also very tall, so having him go on a road trip in like a little Chevy Cruze was not going to happen.
Although it's funny to see. It's hilarious to see.
He technically fits, but he gets grumpy very quickly. It was actually a Chevy Cobalt that we took all the way to Chicago. Not a good idea. So this was much more comfortable for us. So this is our drive around for a road trip, make a day trip to Denver, haul the cows and hay, and then my commuter, I'm much more comfortable than I was in a car. So.
Okay, so now this is a 3/4 ton. You came from a half ton to 3/4 ton. There's usually a lot of conversation out there about drive quality differences because typically these trucks are better when they're loaded down. What's been your experience driving both trucks?
So the Silverado compared to a car was no different at all. This compared to the Silverado is a tiny bit bumpier every once in a while. That's it. Otherwise, it feels like it drives like a car, but I'm nice and high and have the better view and much more comfortable. So I'd say it drives really, really smooth.
Okay, so we established that. Now let's talk about the conversation with this 3/4 tons. It always boils down to gas or diesel. This is always a big conversation with people. On the diesel, on one hand, you're going to pay more money, but when you tow, you usually get better fuel economy. With the gas, you pay less money, but towing is usually worse fuel economy. Has that been the case when you found it?
Yes. So this was, I think, $10,000 or $12,000 less than the diesel version, which we would have gotten a diesel if we decided that that's the path to take. But it was so much more expensive. We decided to look for a gas. It was very, very difficult to find. We looked for this truck for several months. We had a few people working on it, and even brand new, not even trying to get a used one. A brand new one was very difficult to find. But as far as like fuel economy, it definitely, we've had a few diesel trucks and hauled a bunch of stuff with it, and you didn't lose anything. And with this, you lose, I'd say maybe 5 miles a gallon when you're hauling. We've hauled a camper and a cattle trailer that was full so far, and probably about 5 miles per gallon less.
Okay, so, but driving around, are you concerned about the fuel economy just driving around like without anything in the bed?
No. I get between 15 and 17 miles a gallon with this, which I was surprised for it being, bigger than that smaller truck that I had before. Sure. And then that's perfectly fine for me for what I need this to do.
Right. Like, it's a trade-off between commuting it and having a vehicle and having
my car got 38 miles a gallon, so I'm not getting that, but I'm also can't use my car to haul anything.
Technically you can. I've seen photos, but technically you can't.
I had a Subaru Outback. I don't know if you could haul a cattle trailer with that. Someone's probably tried.
Yeah, they do a lot in Europe. It's really weird stuff. But so when you tow with this, and I know we've talked to your husband a little bit, who's towed as well, who's very handsome and charming, by the way. We've towed with this. The experience, though, from what I got from him and from you, was that it wasn't a big difference between diesel and gas, which sounds really strange. I mean, people are going to be like, no, it's going to be different. But for your case, it wasn't?
No. Yeah. When we, what I have experienced most is taking the camper up into the mountains, and you go up a steep mountain hill with a full camper full with water and all your stuff and everything. In a diesel, you don't feel a difference. And I expected to feel a little bit of a lag with this, and it was absolutely no different. I mean, just pulled exactly like the diesel did, even uphill in the altitude and all that stuff. So.
Okay. Now, you said it was hard to find this gas engine.
Yes.
Now, were you looking for a Chevy or a GMC? Did it matter to you?
I didn't really care.
Okay.
I liked the Chevy based on the Silverado that I'd had. I'm not necessarily a brand snob. I just kind of want what I want,
Okay.
As far as the features and stuff. And I really liked the package that GMC and Chevy had in a worker, a kind of a work truck.
Right,
but
because this
still,
is a SLT, I believe it is.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have the heated seats. I have the heated steering wheel. I have the fancy stuff that I felt like I needed because I got used to it.
The high country is quite an entry point.
You can't go back from that. But this literally only has maybe 2 features less than what that older high country had. It was a 14.
Okay.
And so that was kind of the decider as far as the package of what you got. I would have been totally fine with a GMC or a Chevy. Okay. It didn't matter to me.
Did you guys shop around at all with like a Ford and a Ram, or in this country we call them Dodges still? But
right.
Did you guys shop around these different trend trucks?
We did a little bit. All of our diesels that we've had in the past have been Fords, and I mean we like them, but this just fit better with the price and the package and everything you got with it. So I don't even think we looked at Dodges. I think they were way higher priced. So. Okay. Yeah, we didn't even drive one to be tempted.
Ixnay that,
right?
I'm going to grab the camera. I want to go around back. I want to talk about a few things back there.
Okay.
And you do have the multi-pro tailgate. I want to ask you about that, like real world usage. You actually use it.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and go to the back.
Okay. All right.
On the business end of the truck, that's what my engineers tell me. This is the business end of the working truck. But we're in the country. A lot of times you see these trucks where the bed is off. It's a headache rack because they're too tall. And before I ask you any questions, I'm going to show this in the video. I'm going to take a little video of this right here. And this is a real world example of how trucks have gotten so tall, and especially 3/4 ton. 1 ton's still a little bit down a little bit. Half ton's a little bit down a little bit. 3/4 tons, for whatever reason, 3/4 tons are now the tall truck in the lineup. And we had a situation where we're towing a trailer, and out here in the country, we don't live on, perfectly flat roads. Even though you might have those thoughts about Nebraska, that's part of the east, not here. We have these hilly kind of roads. We have bar pits come out of the field, and you come out of the field just a little bit different, and you have the gooseneck trailer on there. You just tend to tilt a little bit. The truck goes this way, trailer goes this way, and sometimes when you're hooking up older trailers with the newer trucks, you have really some clearance issues. I've seen some stuff where clearance is like this high over the other gooseneck. And even as you're turning, imagine that, you have little clearance, you turn, changes the way the truck is riding, it just cuts that down a little bit. And this is very common. I see this all over the place. Many trucks have this, and it's one of my things I talk about. The trucks have gotten so damn tall. And yes, I am vertically challenged, but that's okay. She is not vertically challenged, she's a real owner. So Erin, have trucks gotten too tall?
I am 6 foot tall, and this truck is almost too tall.
See, exactly. Put your
Yeah.
down below.
I have long arms. I can't reach like the ATM to like grab my money out or drop something in the bank. Sometimes I have to put it in park and reach out. It's not a huge deal, but it's something that I didn't think about. I'd never thought that I would be too
tall for the truck. Well, I mean, we're backed up a little bit on a hill. It's a little bit unfair, but it's unfair to me because I'm short. But anyways, a little unfair here. And would you put your arm out? Yeah, I mean, that's almost straight out for you. And so I always talk about like the middle of the bed, and especially middle of the bed towards the cab is like the Bermuda Triangle. Middle of the bed towards the cab, good luck getting something out of that. I mean, I know a lot of people that actually carry rakes in their truck so they can use it to pull stuff out of the bed. And you have the cover on here, so I assume that do you use the bed a lot, or do you use it seldom?
We use it, I'd say, moderate. We definitely, I mean, this flips back super easy. So we flip this back and load this up all the time.
All right, let's talk about this topper real fast. Everybody's going to ask me about this. We have a low max topper, right? So you said it installed pretty quickly?
Yeah, we bought it on Amazon, and I think we put it in maybe 5-10 minutes. And
then you're saying it folds up?
Yeah.
Yep.
You do have to have this open because there's a release, which is kind of the locking mechanism. So you pull this down. Flip it up, and then there's a little clamp here. I don't know if you want to get that. stretches and pulls down there on both sides, and then you can drive it.
You're done. Well, that's pretty simple.
Much easier than any of the other ones I'd had. I had a roll one before, and it took up so much of the space in the bed to house all of that, and it was always like water didn't really completely drain out of it. And then I didn't want the big one that, lifted up. This one is so convenient. I love it. And it was probably the cheapest one too of everything that we priced.
And I'm surprised. Now, you didn't wash this bed. I know you washed the truck, but you didn't wash this bed out, did you?
No. Mm-mm.
And so, all right, guys, look. This is what they're driving on, okay? These are Nebraska dirt roads. Not a lot of humidity, right? So typically, you get a lot of dust back here. My brother drives his truck out here. We go deer hunting. He gets so pissed at me because his golf clubs get covered in dirt. But this is pretty clean back here, really. I feel like you might use the bed more if the truck was not so tall.
I don't think so for me. I think that we use it like we need to, but there's definitely times where, like, if you need something towards the back, you almost have to just climb up into it. It's hard to reach it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they put some steps on the side, which I'll show the video of that. Those steps, I made a big deal about that, and I got a lot of crap from my friend journalists about that. But that side step up there, that's a big deal.
So when I first saw this truck, I thought that's the most ridiculous thing ever. That's just a cosmetic thing. Someone in a office thought that would be cool, and then I tried to get something out of it. I'm like, okay, it's super handy. This little step down here, it's a huge difference for me reaching from there to there. Yep. I use that all the time.
Yeah, and they've actually made this bigger. It was so successful that they've made this on the 2020 models a bigger step. This is the bed step or the bumper step, and now it's as big. I think it holds a 14 boot with the steel toe on it. That's what they've gotten to now because they made it even longer. And so it's pretty handy. It's definitely something that I think all automakers should do. But let's talk about this multi-pro tailgate as well. And I'm using the marketing term here. That's what it is. But it's got different configurations going down. You can press different buttons. Now, have you actually used it?
I have, and I've almost messed it up actually. Here is another problem. So if this is your never use it as a ranch truck, you would never run into this. But with a ball down here, if you have this down and put this down, it hits the.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, so there are some aftermarket thought on this. There's a guy on YouTube has made a device. It hooks to a sensor and it actually will ding you and stop this from opening up if that's there. And then there's a few aftermarket ball companies that are switching up. They have a ball setup that actually swivels to get rid of that. But that's been one of the common complaints with this truck is that it's cool, but you have to take your receiver ball out more often. And I'm guessing by the amount of hookup you had there, you probably don't take that off very often.
No, it just stays on all the time.
It just stays there all the time, yeah. So, okay, let's talk about trailering back here. So we talked about the ball quite a bit, but we have a lot of camera system going on. And you have used the camera to back up, so what's your been experience there?
So there's, I think 3 different cameras. There's just the regular backup camera for regular driving, and then there's a trailer camera that just kind of lines you up to the trailer, but then there's a ball, like a hitch.
Right, you can,
and
it can zoom right to the ball.
Awesome, yeah. So it gives you a red line to get you angled up to it, and then you can tell exactly when you need to stop, so you can do this independently.
Yeah, so you don't need to call on that pesky husband. All right.
Or have him back there doing this, and I always do it the wrong way. And
yeah, so that's
lots of fun.
That's GM's feature with the Chevy and the Sierra. It's saving marriages.
It is.
One backup camera at a time.
Literally.
And then one of the things I know your charming husband talked about was that this has got the buttons here to open and close the tailgate. And one of the things that we talk about was that if you go to get in this truck, let's say the truck's sitting outside the shop, and we want to throw some tools in the truck, there is no handle, right?
Right.
So he has to go in and find the keys and unlock the bed to be able to put something in the truck. So it's kind of interesting. It's all the buttons and stuff, and I'll be curious to see how ownership of this truck, how well these buttons hold up to all the dust we have in this area. Because it used to be the handles would always break at some point, especially right when you need to get in the truck, right when it's really damn cold, right? It's just perfect timing. But I'd be curious how those buttons work out with all the dust that flies around out here and all the sensors.
Yeah, I will say I have a automatic opener on my key fob, and that is handy if you're like leaving the store and he's carrying all the stuff that needs loaded in there. I can just pop it. I've had a couple people where I do that and they're like, well, that doesn't suck. I'm like, no, it doesn't suck.
You talked about the side step being an issue. when I first saw that on the key fob, and also there's a button inside the cabin. When I first saw that, I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Absolutely stupid. And then I used the truck and I was like, what a stupid, smart thing.
I feel a little snobby when I use it, but I still use it.
Yeah, but it's hand, because you're typically running out of Menards or Home Depot, whatever. Yeah, and you always have, you're pushing something. Yeah. And it's like, it's not a huge thing. It's not like you're saving hours of time. Right. But it is pretty damn.
I've always found that I get the bulky box out and then I'm like, crap. So if I've done it on the way, and I've popped this with an elbow in a pinch. I've done that before. You couldn't do that with a handle. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the pros and cons there with the handle in the back end there. But yeah. So I think overall, I got a couple last questions for you. But overall, have you been happy with this truck?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Has it served the needs?
It is exactly what we needed to be a comfortable commuter for like a longer trip. For me, for work, it drives like a car because I drive all the time. And then everything we needed for the ranch. So.
And what about the interior? I'm going to show some video on the screen of the interior because it's a ranch truck. We're going to use the interior's it's not perfect, it's not pristine. Get over it. But as far as the interior, there's always been a lot of comments lately about the interior hasn't been as good as competition. But it's a usable interior. Are you happy with it? It's fine?
Yes. Yeah. It's everything that I was used to with the High Country or with my, fancier Subaru that I had before. We have the seats that aren't like, they're kind of like leather, but they don't scratch like leather. So I'm super happy with the interior. I have no complaints. A few things in a different place that I had to get used to because it's so similar to the Chevy, but just a little bit different. And then one thing too, and this is just a preference thing, but in the Silverado, there wasn't a middle seat. And so I had a huge console with tons of storage. This technically is a front middle seat. And so I lost some of that. And that was just getting used to the difference.
Oh yeah, because we have the bench seat in this.
So you only have a little shallow top thing that your armrests on. In the Silverado, there was a 2-layer one. So you had a small one. And then if you opened the big one, it was, like a locker in there. Yeah, it was nice.
I've seen people put stuff in there and never come back out.
Yeah, never. This one has one under the, you flip it up and then you would sit on the seat. Under that seat is another small one, but it's not usable because you have to take your cup holder out and your phone and all the stuff that just lives there in your vehicle when you use it all the time. So.
All right, what about seating for you in there? Do you have any issues with seating, or the position of the seat, any comfort issues?
Nope, everything is just perfect.
Yeah, and you don't, I don't recall how many miles off the top of my head, but you don't have very many miles.
Under 10,000.
Under 10,000.
Yeah.
So you had no problems, no warranty issues going on?
No.
All right, so the $1 million question, would you buy this again?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. There you go.
This exact truck.
This exact truck. She's a happy camper with this truck. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Check this other video out over here. It's a good time. Website down below. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.